Are you looking for all the latest pro football news and content? Of course you are. Who doesn't love football? The question is, how do you get all the latest pro football news and content? There's so many different pro football podcasts on the internet. Which one do you choose? Which one is the right fit for you? Well, you go with the Cross the Middle Show, one of the fastest growing football podcasts out right now. Over the past year, we've climbed the Spotify rankings to become a show you have to listen to if you're a football fan. Find out the Ravens will go all the way with Odell Beckham Jr. Find out the Eagles did enough to make it back to the Super Bowl. You'll get all of our best stories for just $1 per month. All you have to do is sign up by clicking the link in the episode description box. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's John Kuzma from the Cross the Middle Show. We have another great episode coming at you today. We're going to talk a little bit about Jalen Ramsey. We also have the Jalen Carter story too. So let's break down what's happening around the league. We're starting with Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey had to be carted off the field at training camp for the Dolphins. It's bad news for the Dolphins. Jalen Ramsey went down with a meniscus tear. There is some good news. His ACL is still intact. It sounds like Jalen Ramsey will have a chance at coming back at some point, but he's going to miss a large portion of the season, which is definitely a setback for this team. Remember, the just traded for Jalen Ramsey, had high hopes for him, teaming him up with Xavier Howard. They were supposed to be one of the better cornerback tandems in the league, one of the best cornerback tandems in the league, no doubt about that. Well, now Jalen Ramsey is going to be sidelined for a large portion of the season because, he did tear his meniscus. He's going to miss, the majority of the season. We'll have a shot at coming back at the end of the regular season, but, then you have to get back up to game speed and get into game shape and things like that. So definitely a setback for the Dolphins, also a setback for Jalen Ramsey. Tough for him, you put in all that work. Get ready for training camp, get ready to go for the upcoming season, then you go down with this meniscus tear and, now you got to build yourself back up. You're playing from behind the ball now because everybody's going to be at practice, getting those reps in. They're going to be in game shape, whereas he's going to be behind a little bit. There's no doubt about that. He's going to miss a lot of time. He's going to miss a lot of reps in practice. It's going to be tough for him to battle back from the injury and, get that knee strengthened again to the point where he feels confident to plant in any direction and just react the way that he always has because, he's so fluid in his movements that, when you actually tear something in the knee like a meniscus, suddenly you're not as fluid and you have to build up your confidence again. That's the biggest thing because you're scared to plant. You're scared you're going to do more damage. Even when you come back, you're not 100% confident in that knee yet. It takes a little bit of time to get back in the swing of things. That's just the way these injuries go. So tough news for Jalen Ramsey. The last thing you want to see because the guy is a big piece to the puzzle for the Dolphins. Now, they have a lot of talent on that defense, so they're going to be able to get by with the talent, especially they have on the defensive front. But Jalen Ramsey was a key piece, especially in the secondary, someone that was going to bolster that defensive back position, especially the cornerback position. It was going to make it tough for teams to throw against the Dolphins. And, the confidence, the swagger, the other things he brings to the team, the leadership, those things are tough to replace because Jalen Ramsey is a gamer. When he's in his zone and when he's focused, he brings a lot to a team. And, wherever he goes, that team tends to have success. That's just always been the case with Jalen Ramsey. So it was definitely going to be someone that helped the Dolphins, soup up their defense, so to say, especially on the back end. Now he's going to be lost for, like I said, the majority of the season. He's got to battle back. He's going to have to go through a rehab, and he's getting surgery on his knee, so that tells you how serious it is. Yeah, it's only a meniscus, but anytime you got to go under the knife and have surgery, there's always some risk that comes with that too. So it's just tough for Jalen Ramsey. You don't want to see anybody go down in training camp and blow their knee out And yeah, he dodged the bullet by, not having it be an ACL, which would have cost him the whole season. But still, now he's got to battle back. He's got to go through the process of rehabbing the knee and doing all the things he has to do just to make it back by the end of the season. By then, he's probably not in game shape, not up to game speed. Everyone else is moving a little bit faster than he is because he just missed the whole entire season. And you can't replicate, we've talked about in these past episodes, you can't replicate, the instincts and, your reaction time that you get when you're practicing every single day, when you're playing games every single week. That causes you to develop these fast twitch reactions that allow you to play the game at such a high level. Jalen Ramsey has done all those things because of all the reps that he gets in practice, because of, he's playing games every single week, because he trains the whole offseason to get ready to go for the season. Now, he's going to have this giant delay before he gets out there. Not to mention the leg has to heal up. And that's a process in itself because sometimes, you're never quite the same. Sometimes you're not as explosive when you come back from these type of injuries. Now, a meniscus you should be able to come back from. Usually meniscuses don't even last that long. But, Jalen Ramsey's situation is going to cost him a little bit longer than some of these normally go. His situation is going to cost him most of the regular season. He tweeted out that the late season push is going to be legendary. He feels confident that he's going to bounce back and be ready by, the end of the regular season and then help that team make a push for the playoffs. Then hopefully he'll be back to 100% by the time the playoffs do arrive so that he can perform at a high level and help the Dolphins do something when it matters. Well, we know the Dolphins are going to have to basically make it to the playoffs without Jalen Ramsey. That's the task for the team. Can they make it to the playoffs without Jalen Ramsey? Then they're going to get reinforcements, a reinforcement when Jalen Ramsey arrives late in the season, just as the playoffs are on the cusp of getting here. So that would be a nice little level up for the Dolphins to get Jalen Ramsey back. If the team can handle their business without Jalen Ramsey, make the playoffs, then you get him back for the playoffs. I mean, that's a nice little level up for the Dolphins. It could be worse. They could have lost him for the whole entire year. Luckily, they don't. They get some, I don't want to say good news because he got hurt, so it's not necessarily good news. It's definitely bad news. But the injury could have been a lot worse. They could have lost him for the whole entire year. He will be back at some point, which is some decent news, I guess, after, a bad situation took place. The next story we have is the Jalen Carter story. So Jalen Carter has been lighting it up for the Eagles. Jalen Carter is obviously one of the best players in that past draft. We all knew he was special. It's being showcased at training camp for the Eagles. He's been really, really good. Like I said, one of the best players in that past draft. Just really dominating at the line of scrimmage. He's so good with his swim moves. He's so good at disengaging blockers and playing the run. Well, those things have translated over to the next level. And Jalen Carter is really, really balling out to the point where he's going against that tough Eagles offensive line. Remember, they have all those Pro Bowlers on that offensive line. Well, Jalen Carter is roughing those guys up and really taking it to them, which is huge because we know how good the Eagles' offensive line is. So the fact that Jalen Carter is, manhandling these guys, it just goes to show that the things he did at Georgia was not a fluke. He is the real deal. He is a guy that can play at a very high level, the highest level, because he's winning these one-on-one matchups in the National Football League against one of the best offensive lines in the league. So the fact that he's able to get by those guys, the fact that he's able to push them around and, get into the offensive backfield and blow plays up for a loss. That's a very good sign for the Eagles because Jalen Carter was like a big piece for their future. If they hit on him, then they're going to be in great shape, which we know now they did. That's going to give the Eagles a chance to get back to the Super Bowl because remember, so much of their success was dependent on Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith. Well, we know Nolan Smith's been balling out at camp too. He's just so fast off the edge that these linemen can't, match up with him. They can't get their hands on him. He gets around the edge, does the bend, gets underneath the block, then gets to the quarterback, and there's really not much these offensive linemen can do because they can't keep up with Nolan Smith's speed. Well, the same thing is basically happening with Jalen Carter, except he's not doing it with his speed. He's doing it with his power. He's, doing it with, just engaging these offensive linemen and then working a swim move. But he's just so powerful off that initial punch. And then he's so quick, too, with the swim move that, he leaves these offensive linemen in the dust while he gets into the backfield. Sometimes he'll just split in between the two offensive linemen by shooting the gap. There's just so many things the guy can do, and he just has such a knack for getting to the quarterback, for making these plays in the backfield, and for stirring things up for the offense. When you have a guy that can do all those things, it's just so disruptive, and it allows everyone around him to be better too because now the offense has to shift so much of their focus to stopping Jalen Carter. Well, what happens when the offense is so focused on Jalen Carter and then they have Nolan Smith coming off the edge with his speed? Well, now things are starting to get blown up left and right. They have a lot of other good players on that defensive front for the Eagles too. So there's just so many good players on that defensive front that it just collapses the pocket. Trying to run against a defensive front like that is almost impossible. Everything gets blown up. So now you're kind of one-dimensional because you have to pass and you have to get the ball out of your hands quick. So really all you have is a quick passing game. Well, the defensive backs know that, that the ball has to come out quick. So they start jumping the first route that these wide receivers run. They can't work a double move because there's no time to let that develop. So it's got to be a slant. It's got to be a quick out. These defensive backs know that, and they start jumping the first move these wide receivers make because they know the ball has to come out so quick. That's what we could see with the Eagles because Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, the rest of the guys they have there are going to make it really tough on these offenses to, get the ball out of their hands. It's got to be quick. There's no time to let any play develop. It's just tough. It's tough to play against a defense like that because what are you going to do? You're going to run a toss play? No, the defense is going to run it down and blow it up. So you can't run toss plays. You have to run quick hitters on offense, like not only in the passing game, the running plays too. So you're limited to like dives up the middle. Those plays don't usually go for a lot. And then not only that, the Eagles defense up front is going to win at the line of scrimmage. So even if you run a dive play, you're getting blown up in the backfield. You can't run a long developing run play like a counter because the defensive line is in the backfield. So if you're running a counter, the chance of getting blown up for 3 or 4 yard loss is pretty high. I mean, Jalen Carter is going to make it tough on these teams, and he's going to make it tough on these quarterbacks, and it's going to shift a lot of it's going to shift the percentages in the Eagles' favor, I guess I'm trying to say. It's just so tough to stop a guy like Jalen Carter, and then the other guys start balling out too because he's, taking over games, and, now the offensive line has to slide all the protection towards Jalen Carter, which leaves everyone else in one-on-ones like we talked about earlier. Yeah, I mean, Jalen Carter's going to deliver for the Eagles. You can take that to the bank. He is the real deal. He has been balling out. There's no stopping the guy. Everything he did at Georgia was just setting him up for the dominance that he's going to have at the next level. I mean, the guy's going to dominate the next level. You can be certain of that. That's how good Jalen Carter is. You're already seeing it at camp. So get ready because it's coming. And the Eagles, once again, give Howie Roseman all the credit in the world. Howie Roseman absolutely obliterated that draft to the point where the Eagles are right back in the hunt. They're loaded up again. They're ready to go. Howie Roseman pulls another rabbit out of the hat, obliterates the draft, and really sets his team up to have a lot of success this upcoming season because he got two of the best rookies on the defensive side of the ball, two of the best pass rushers, two of the best defensive front players. I mean, that front seven for the Eagles, they're looking loaded again. So get ready for the Eagles. They're going to be tough. Jalen Carter, the real deal. Nolan Smith looking good. Howie Roseman does it again. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm John Kuzma. I appreciate you guys listening to the Cross the Middle show. You guys can sign up for just $1 per month. Just click the link in the episode description box. Have a great day.